Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? Coming up next, I wanted to share a challenge, or I wanted to challenge a routine that many of us follow, and it came out of a conversation with my son earlier on this week, because we've generally been told to eat the right way is about having breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and dinner. Now, don't get me wrong, I teach this structure itself, and it's a structure that works. But what happens on those days when it doesn't work, or when life throws you a curveball like shift work, or you need to stay back at work, or you've got a long commute to taking the kids somewhere after school activities, or you've had back-to-back meetings, and that traditional eating pattern no longer serves you. What happens then? And this is where I find that we can come undone a little bit. And it was highlighted, as I said, I was chatting to my son just this week, and he works from 4 to 8 p.m. one night, and he gets home absolutely starving. Then he's eating a big meal, and then he's feeling heavy and uncomfortable, and it just wasn't working for him because he's studying during the day, working from 4 to 8, and then wanting to come home and do a gym session before he's kind of called it a day. And we sort of started to look at, well, can you swap the gym session around, and how can we look at this? But then I just sort of said to him, well, let's just flip the structure of when you're eating. And I said, why not when you get home or before you're taking off at 3 o'clock, before you head off to work, why not have your dinner then, and then just have a light snack when you get home? And this totally changed everything for him, because firstly, he could get a gym session in because he was coming home and just having a smoothie and a bit of toast, which was a lot lighter than dinner. He could get the gym session in, but is also feeling a lot lighter and not as overfull. But also he was feeling better at work because he had all of that food fueling his work. So the thing is that you don't need to always force your body into the same routine when it's not matching your lifestyle. So we can move away from that and rethink it, and especially shift workers. I do a lot of work with people that are shift workers that find it hard to know when to have their meals, or find that they're snacking at really odd times and feel bad about it because it's not generally a time that they should be snacking. So I've done a lot of this work where we kind of just flip it all around. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as you're getting your nutrients in the day at times when you need it, we can completely veer away from that breakfast, lunch, dinner model with the snacks in between. So some of the things that you can do is first ask yourself these 3 questions. The first one is, when will I be hungry? So notice your patterns throughout your day. Do you feel that you're starving by 10 a.m. because you're skipping breakfast? That could be a sign that your skipping breakfast isn't really working for you. So when will you be hungry based on maybe work getting in the way and there being a longer period of time or something like that? Then ask yourself, when can I realistically eat? So if you're driving kids around between 5 and 8, maybe that's not your ideal dinner window. It's not going to happen there. So can you eat earlier, or can you take a prepared meal with you? Or can you have a proper lunch later on at 2 o'clock, make it something bit bigger, and then just having a satisfying snack when you get home rather than a whole dinner meal? The third question to ask is, how long am I going between meals? So ideally, you want to be eating every 3 to 4 hours unless you're sleeping, and then there might be a 10 or 12-hour gap in between meals. And it doesn't matter what time of the day that sleep exists. So if you are a shift worker and you're sleeping in the middle of the day, then still try and put in these meals based on this, eating every 3 to 4 hours as well. So if you go any longer than that 3 to 4 hours, then you're going to be at a risk of getting really, really hungry and overeating or making poor decisions. We all know how that always works out when you're absolutely starving. You're looking for the thing that's highest in fat and sugar and the quickest thing you can get your hands on, which is usually some takeaway or something that you've through the drive-through or petrol station, or when you're getting home, whatever's sweet and salty and fatty in the pantry. So there's definitely those three questions. When will I be hungry? When can I actually eat? And how long am I going between meals? So then you can just move things around. So breakfast doesn't have to be eggs and toast. If a lunch style of salad works better for you, depending on your work. So even though it may feel like it's a morning time, it might actually be a lunchtime depending on what your work is. So dinner doesn't always have to be late at night. You could have breakfast as your first meal, but then you could have your main meal earlier if you need to, and then have an afternoon snack or a lighter meal later in the day. And so some of the things that you can do is you can do a smoothie for dinner, especially if you've had a big meal earlier on. At times, and because I work 2 nights a week, so I find, and I'm working from 4 till 8:30. So for me to get home at 8:30 at night, if I'm not organised enough during the day, then I will just have probably half the quantity of what I would do for dinner normally. But what I prefer to do is have my dinner at that 3-4 o'clock time, depending on when I'm starting, and then just having some muesli and yogurt, and it's just fresh, it's light, and it feels really good to be able to do that. You could have salad bowls or leftovers at 10 a.m. if that's your only chance to sit down and eat properly. So when you adjust your meal times based on your actual day, you're starting to think more about when you need nutrients, when you're going to feel hungry, and making sure that we're getting our nutrients more in the day when we're active and moving, rather than skipping meals and then just over-consuming at nighttime. And when you start to think of it in this way, you're going to feel more in control, you're going to eat better, and stop the cycle of starving and then binging that so many of us actually struggle with when we're trying to fit food into our day. And if you're listening right now and you're nodding along thinking, oh my goodness, that's me, like this is your reminder that there's not just one size fits all in terms of that breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner model. Nutrition is all about just fueling your life and doing that in a way that makes sense for you. Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful, and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.